The New Balance 1080 version 11 versus the New Balance 880 version 11. In the past, the 10 series of shoes have been the premium version of shoes in the 8 series. But is this head-to-head really that simple? Is the 880 just a budget version of the 1080? Let's go for a run and find out. 6.58 miles easy in the 1080 version 11 and 6.43 miles the day before that easy running in the 880 version 11. So I can compare these two shoes head to head. Now, before I give you my thoughts on these two shoes, I do want to go over just some disclosures. The 1080 version 11 is a pair of shoes I purchased with my own money, and the 880 version 11 is a pair of shoes that was sent to me by Roadrunner Sports for the purpose of review. However, in neither event is anyone paying me to make this video or to include their shoes in a video, and no one's going to get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. So with that disclosure out of the way, let's talk about the 1080 version 11 and the 880 version 11. First, let's talk about the 1080 version 11 and what we have in this shoe from a specs standpoint. We've got 30 millimeters of Fresh Foam X midsole in this shoe with an 8 millimeter drop, giving us 22 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot. Again, that's all Fresh Foam X midsole material. On the outsole, we've got a very generous covering of rubber on top of the Fresh Foam X, but it's not super dense. It's a pretty soft compound of rubber that's on here, so it's not taking away too much from that midsole. Up top, we have a very comfortable, very well executed knit material in the forefoot and in the toe box that transitions into a little bit more robust of a material in the midfoot, around the lacing and on the sides of the shoe, finishing off in the back with, which is a very flexible material, almost like a neoprene type of material that flares away from the Achilles, so that way there's not any rubbing or irritation in that area. And that whole ultra heel is covering up a heel cup that's back here that provides a little bit of structure for the heel. Total package comes in at a mere 9.3 ounces for my US men's size 9. In the 880, we have a midsole stack height, which I think is 30 millimeters in height. The shoe still hasn't quite yet been released, so I don't have final numbers on it, but my understanding is it's about 30 millimeters of stack height in the heel with a 10 millimeter drop, giving us 20 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot. This is another Fresh Foam X shoe, although there is another type of foam, which you can see, which is this black material here, which I'm not exactly sure yet what that material is, but the white midsole, the majority of what we have here is that Fresh Foam X material. On the outsole, we have a very hefty dose of rubber, and it's a little bit more dense of a material. I think it's going to be a lot more durable and also a little bit grippier of a material than what we see on the 1080 version 11. Up top, we have a more traditional running upper where we have like more of a mesh type of material in the toe box. This is also still very comfortable though, very breathable. And that comes back to a more kind of muted heel where there's a little bit of an Achilles flare and a moderate amount of padding all around the areas that might touch your foot. And towards the heel, there is a much bigger heel cup in the 880 version 11, and also this little plastic heel clip that goes around that connects that upper and the heel cup that's in the upper down a little bit further into the midsole foam material. This total package comes in at, believe it or not, a heavier weight than the 1080 version 11. The weight for this shoe, it comes in at 10.5 ounces for men's US size 9. So what was it like to run in these shoes? Let's start with the 1080. The 1080, at least in the 2 years that I've run in this shoe, has been something of a max cushion shoe that wants to behave like a daily trainer. Although I'm thinking with the more and more miles that I put in the 1080 this year for version 11, I'm thinking it's really just a very well cushioned daily trainer that looks more like a max cushion shoe. So my opinion on like where this shoe exactly fits in the category is kind of shifting over time, and so we'll see where we end up with it by the time I'm done running in this shoe. But it kind of straddles that line between that max cushion shoe that you're taking for your recovery runs and that daily trainer that you could take kind of for all your everyday runs. In either way, it's definitely a workhorse shoe. The Fresh Foam X material in here is very bouncy, but also absorbs a lot of impact at the same time. And so those two sensations combined give it a sense that you can take it for your longer runs. You could take it for the majority of your runs throughout the weeks and months, but also still feel like you're not going to get mired down in squishiness. It's not like a quicksand type of feel. It still has a very springy sensation as you're running, so it doesn't feel like a traditional heavy max cushion shoe. And with its weight of 9.3 ounces, it can certainly handle a variety of paces. Not only is it very good at your longer distance runs where you might be out there not worrying about pace, just trying to get those long miles in, but it's also good for when you need to pick up the pace. Today I did have a couple of strides in the run, and I've had other days where I've had strides or some faster paces that were involved in the run, and the 1080 version 11 is very ready to step up to that task. The heel still kind of weirds me out every time I run in this shoe. The Ultra heel always feels very loose, and it makes me wonder if I need to retie my shoes or try to get a better fit in it. But you usually just kind of let it go, get in like your first like quarter mile or even a couple 100 meters, and then everything will kind of like work. It just, I don't know how it does that, but it just starts to feel normal after a little bit. And that feeling that your heel might come out of the back of the shoe or that it's not quite fitting right, it goes away, and then it ends up feeling fine. And then after that, the shoe kind of just like fits your foot really well. It's just a very comfortable shoe to be in. And I think one of the best examples of shoes that can be very comfortable at a premium level using knit materials and this Ultra heel type of material. It's all very comfortable without being puffy, and it's very lightweight. So I'm loving the upper that's on this shoe, and I'm also really enjoying the feeling of that Fresh Foam X. Now, in contrast, the 880 is a shoe that I've always seen as pretty much maybe like the more cushioned daily trainer. So kind of like sitting in a similar spot as the 1080, but coming at it from a different place. The 1080 seems to come from kind of like the max cushion that can do daily training. This is like the daily trainer that can do a little bit of max cushion type of work. So you can take it for your long one. I've taken it for long runs and had fantastic times with it, but you can also take it for your daily training, your everyday runs. It can be the workhorse throughout the most of your week as well. And even for some of those faster paces, I had it for some strides this week. I've had it at moderate paces, long stretches of moderate miles in prior runs where I've really enjoyed it there as well. It's definitely a shoe that can put in the work. The difference though is even though there is a bunch of Fresh Foam X in this midsole, I don't really feel like this is a Fresh Foam X shoe. Like if someone were to ask me like, what are some great examples of Fresh Foam X shoes? I would look at the 1080 version 11, but I really wouldn't say that like the 880 is a great example of what Fresh Foam X could be. Overall, it just feels to me kind of like a regular shoe. It feels like a good shoe. It doesn't feel like there's anything particularly special about it. Not that it's bad. Here's where I think it is. I think it's a combination of a couple things. I think it's this black layer on the midsole. I think that's dampening a little bit of the sensation that I'm getting in the midfoot of what the Fresh Foam X could do. And I also think that it's partly due to the fact that the outsole here is so thick. It's got a very dense layer of rubber on the outsole that is very tall. And so I feel like that's dampening a lot of the sensation that I might be getting from that midsole foam, because what I'm feeling is the rubber outsole. It reminds me of a lot of other shoes from like Mizuno and from Asics that I've run in some of those more old school shoes, like their legacy lines, that where you're feeling like you're running in a lot of rubber. You're feeling like a shoe that's intended to go for like 600 miles for the life of the shoe. I feel like this shoe is definitely built for durability. And the other thing that I'm feeling in this is that it's a very comfortable shoe. The fit is fantastic, but it's approaching comfort in a way that's opposite of the 1080 version 11. The way that it's approaching comfort here in this shoe is through padding along the upper. So the tongue is super padded. There's a lot of padding here along the sides where your ankle might be kind of touching the shoe here. There's a light flare, but even on the flare here away from the Achilles, there's padding in this area as well. And there's also this heel clip that's back here that is going to help keep you kind of in place for those longer efforts where you might be getting a little sloppy towards the end of your run. So everything's just designed to kind of keep you in this like padded zone here, and it does it really well. But it's just a different approach to comfort, I think, in this shoe than what we saw in the 1080 version 11. Some people are really gonna like that. They're gonna find that very familiar. Some people are gonna love the shoe because of the way that outsole feels, because they have that comfort of knowing that this shoe is gonna last them forever. But it just feels a little less exciting to me overall to run in. Now let's talk about the price and the value. For the 880 version 11, we'll go with that one first. That shoe comes in at $130, which I feel like for what you're getting in here is fair to maybe a little bit expensive. I just feel like maybe if it were at like 120, I feel like a lot better about it. And at this point, we're arguing over 10 bucks. So I don't think that the pricing is completely out of line, but I feel like you're getting a very good value even at 130 because of the fact that this shoe is going to last a very, very long time. I feel like the way that they've put everything together, you're going to have a lot of solid, dependable miles in this shoe. It's going to be the shoe that you're going to be able to just kind of reach for almost every single time when you're going for your run, and you're not going to have to give it a second thought. The 1080 version 11 comes in at $150, which is quite a premium over that. It's, again, we're talking now $20 more than the 880 version 11, but $150 for a shoe that's kind of in that straddling that max cushion or daily trainer category. It's got like 1 foot on each side of that line. I feel like $150 is quite a bit of money to pay for this shoe. On the other hand, I really enjoy what the 1080 version 11 is doing. So if this shoe can get on discount, which I think 1080 version 10s are on discount, and they do feel a little bit different. They're not exactly the same shoe, version 10 to version 11. I feel like that's where the better value might be. But even at $150, this is definitely a shoe that is very exciting and something, especially in a category that is typically known for being boring. I think this is definitely a breath of fresh air and something that is worth your consideration. That all being said, now it's time to pick a winner, a champion in this head-to-head battle. For me, it's going to be the 1080 version 11. I just enjoy running in it more. The 880 version 11 is the solid, dependable daily trainer. It's almost a Goldilocks of shoe. It's not too bouncy. It's not too firm. It's just right. It's not too cushioned. It's not too much of a racer fit. It's just right. And I know I'm definitely holding its biggest strength against it in a way. But the 1080 version 11 can also do everything that the 880 can do, but it does it in a way that's a little bit more updated, a little bit more modern, and a little bit more exciting for me to run in. Maybe I'm picking the big flash and the big promises over the sure, reliable, dependable option. But that's where my gut is on this one. It's with the 1080 version 11. But if you're looking at either of these two shoes for your daily training, I feel like you're not going to make a wrong choice between them. I think they're both very good shoes. So those are my thoughts on the 1080 version 11 versus the 880 version 11. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions. I'd love to answer them there. Or better yet, feel free to stop by the live stream that I do just about every day right here on YouTube, 3 p.m. Central Time. We can talk about anything you like when you're there. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks for making it all the way to the end of the video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?